The Japanese word sugomi describes the intense aura or energy given off by a person or an object that is felt by the viewer and that is just energetic. And I don't think that there is a better way to describe this amazing motorcycle.
Hand tricks, so I ignored my good intention. Called that number anyway. The doctor on the line said she'd get me in that day. Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze.
And with that, welcome back to the Freemouse MC and to the review of the Kawasaki Z900 RS. The first thing that is very obvious, they really outdid themselves here with the design. I'm usually not a fan of motorcycles getting wider and wider like SUVs, but here they hit the perfect line between retro design and the bike just being like really beefy and wide. Here you can see how imposing the profile of the bike actually is. The tank is almost as wide as my chest, and that really works in favor of the bike. It's something that's really hard to nail. There are other bikes like the Calibro 700s, which all kind of, they're scrambler bikes and they all kind of look like fat enduros. And here it works really well and it helps like giving this bike this powerful appearance. And the bike doesn't just have this big menacing appearance, it can also back it up. It has a 948cc inline-4 engine that produces 111 horsepower and 98 Newton meters of torque. It's the same engine that is used in the Kawasaki Z900. The power figures are just brought down a little bit so that the power is felt more through the whole rev range. This bike has an upside down suspension in the front and a single spring in the rear compared to the dual spring setup that the original Z1 from 1972 had, which this bike is loosely based on. Apart from that, the bike has 3 traction control settings. One of them is the traction control being completely switched off. Yeah, apart from that, it's quite a basic setup. You have a nice cable throttle compared to a throttle by wire and just a nice inline-4. So, how does this bike is to sit on with its seat height of 83 centimeters? For context, I'm 6'5", or 1 meter 96. And I'm quite happy that I can say that this bike fits basically perfect and also feels like a proper bike underneath me. So let's see how this thing does on the road. Let's go.
Quiet down just a minute. Settle down and have another one. Cause you're tired of the game. Till you're undone. I hit the wall to the limit. Start over like you just begun. I didn't lie to you because I never knew you. Only time will tell. Time will tell. It'll be over. It's never over. Now I let my feelings in. It won't be over. It's never over. Now I let myself begin. Loving you, it won't be over, it's never over. Now I let my feelings in. It won't be over, it's never over. Now I let myself begin loving you.
So, I wanted to review this Kawasaki Z900 RS, and maybe you can already see what's wrong with it. I have a flat tire. That's exactly what I just needed. When suffering the flat tire, luckily the people from the JCB Kawasaki store in Lower Saxony picked me up super quick, even though that the store was closed that day, and also fixed the tire in the span of an hour, so I was still able to continue filming the review. and I'm very thankful to them making the video possible in the first place with renting me the bike. And they do good work. Definitely check them out. I gladly endorse them. They sell Kawasaki's and Zero electric motorcycles and also service them. One thing that's really important for me to point out, even though I've gotten the bike for free, I can say whatever I want about the bike. I gladly appreciate that about them as well, that they were just like, oh yeah, I have the bike, tell whatever you like about it. But still, for the sake of transparency, I want to mention that I got the bike from them for free, which is really nice. Definitely check them out. So we're now out on my favorite road to test motorbikes on. Let's go! With the 111 horsepower, the bike definitely can get going, and the 98 newton meters of torque are so nice. Like, I really like this engine, like such a torquey 4-cylinder. The bike feels very calm in a way, but it also can, you know, deliver. We're here in the turns and definitely does its thing pretty well. Yeah. Also, big fan of the short gears that you can like still shift, and it's not just like a one gear party, and that on such a big engine. Yeah, just fun. Yeah, the bike definitely gets going so quickly while still being quite chill, I have to say. At the same way, like, very perfect. Like, it is very street rideable, because you have 120 horsepower, 98 newton meters of torque, and those keep, like, they push. Well, as soon as you're on a straight road, the bike almost feels like a cruiser. Like, the bike kind of feels like if you would take the Honda Rebel 1100, which is like a cruiser bike that almost feels naked bike-ish, and this is kind of a naked bike that almost feels cruiser-ish. So it's kind of the other end of that spectrum. Okay, let's go! It is crazy that the bike, I was riding the bike the whole day and I was sitting a lot in traffic because there was a lot of construction, and it was just so chill. And now that I'm out here on the road, it really like delivers, you know? When changing from corner to corner, the bike has a small point in the handlebars that feels slightly weird. That is also noticeable when going very like slower speed and trying to push the handlebars, that it has one weird middle point. I can actually show it to you on camera when I'm going a bit slower. I like that the engine is that torquey, because for me it feels like, in my memory, the old 4-cylinder engines feel like on my first bike, because the older engines have not been as rev happy, and like then pack more of a mid-weight punch around like 6,000 to 7,000 RPM, and that's also like the case here. And really like it, really nice. Also like the cable throttle, good. Now we don't have anyone behind me, let's go a bit slower. And here you directly see the weird middle point. You see, I can move the handlebars just slightly with the bike still going straight, which can feel a bit weird, and that leaves a weird change in momentum for a very short moment when like switching from side to side on tighter turns. But apart from that, I'm pretty happy with the bike. It's pretty cool. I also sit on it like, this is a big bike. I like big bikes because like I don't have any stress on any part of my body. This feels like a motorcycle to me, because I remember when I lived for a short moment in Paris, like I was always going over the road that was on the other side of the Champs-Élysées, and there were all the motorcycle stores, you know, and there was the Kawasaki dealership, and I was always walking past all the bikes, and they were all quite small, you know, like 600, 650s, and then I would walk past this machine, and every time I would walk past this machine, my mind would go, yeah, that's a real bike, and I want that, and that feeling is really nicely transported. So the first impression from riding the motorcycle, I have to say this bike truly feels authentically retro, because the bike doesn't just look really nice and with like a lot of attention to detail, it also rides like that, and it just performs like a bike is supposed to perform. And the attention to detail that went into this machine is just astonishing. Like visually, you have so many little details that Kawasaki here paid attention to. From the amazing drop-shaped tank that flows all the way along the seat to the rear of the bike. It's just phenomenal. And that the bike actually has a rear section. Many retro bikes just make the seat shorter to make the bike look like retro. They actually have a rear on this bike that looks really, really nice. And the colorway, the bike is in green with yellow. Yellow is a bold color to pull off on a motorcycle. Most of the time it doesn't work. Here it works. I really like it, and insects really like it too. And the green is kind of a bullet green-ish color with like a golden pearl effect. That looks so sick. Beautiful look. And then with the little Z that is sometimes hidden on these machines, usually in the rear light. This is here on the front of the tank. And then you have like, they even went into the effort to make the rear light look like a fake light bulb, even though it's an LED. And that's so cool. And also like other details, like the black background behind the instruments. It even has like a little like structure to it, and that really feels like on an old Renault R4 or something. That's the last time I've seen something like that, and that they put so much effort into it is actually so cool. Also like the way that you turn on the bike, the button, yes, it's modern and looks out of plastic, but it looks like the buttons that have been used 30-40 years ago, and that's such a great little detail. And also like the levers on the bike and how you adjust the width of the, like how much space you have for your fingers. It all looks truly retro. They put an enormous amount of attention to detail. Also like the rims. The rims are not spoked rims, but they look like them because they kind of made fake spoked rims and then painted them like it, and it's so cool. And also the lettering on the bike. Only thing that I'm then wondering to myself, they put this great attention to detail into this machine, and then they saw the blinkers and the rear view mirrors and they just called it a day. It seems like when you're really passionate about a project and at the end you kind of get tired of your own passion and you're just like, yeah, fuck it, it works. That's kind of what they did here. We have like normal modern blinkers and like mirrors that are at least round, but they're out of plastic. And like I would have even taken like the enormous like square shaped blinkers from back in the day over this. Like this just really brings me out of the experience. Apart from that, gorgeous looking bike. The big menacing feeling of the bike really nicely transports into how like you perceive yourself on the bike. Like when you see yourself in a storefront, you look good on the bike. Like it's not like, oh yeah, it's too small of a bike. No, the bike looks good, you look good. It's a great feeling seeing your own reflection in a storefront. And also people react quite nicely to you. This video has been filmed in Germany. In Germany, no one ever says anything to anyone ever. And still like the amount of compliments you get, especially from older dudes, is like, you will get a lot of like thumbs up. And the appearance that this bike has in public is just incredible. I myself remember getting out of my hometown, driving onto the quicker road and being on the acceleration lane, windows down, music blaring, like my hair flying. I think I was listening to like Sherry Sherry Lady from Dieter Bohlen and Thomas Anders. And I was just like rowing through the gears, and all of a sudden I hear the deep sound of the four-cylinder like approach me from behind, and this motorcycle zooms past me, and it's like, it looked so cool, it looked so big on the road, and like the big, mean, low sound of this machine is incredible. Also, it's a four-cylinder, and it sounds like that down low when idling as well. Usually like four-cylinder bikes are really quiet when they are just like idling. Even the old ones that had none of the EU regulations are not that loud down low, and this all through the rev range sounds mean and powerful. And that's also how the bike feels when accelerating, and it feels truly retro in that sense too. The bike just gets going, you hear the sound, you get pushed into the seat, and you just feel like how the bike revs up. It also revs up like an older machine actually, and not just like all the power at the top, which is like so nice. So let's go. Whoa. Whoa. Quite a lot of kick still at like way over 100 kilometers an hour, and yeah, the bike really performs well from like 100 to 200 as you just saw. And also the bike manages stuff like city traffic also pretty well. Like you can lane split
The bike is quite wide, but the way that the handlebars are shaped, you don't get loads of problems with the mirrors of a car. That's really nice. Of course, all the great things this bike can do comes in at a quite steep price. The bike costs 13,500 euros, which is pretty crazy. Which is quite a lot. It is the most expensive bike basically when it comes to its competitors. You're getting quite a lot for it. There is even like a more crazy version, the Kawasaki Z900 RS SE. That then has better suspension and semi-adjustable suspension that you can change like the suspension setup with the press of a button. I've like tested that on the Kawasaki Versa, and it's quite good, quite cool, but I don't think you need it on this bike because I think this is more of a lone riding machine and not really your tourer. Even though you could do that on the bike, it's comfortable enough, but it's like not the typical I'm riding with two people on the bike and luggage type machine.
So all in all, what can be said about the Kawasaki Z900 RS? This bike is really, really good. It's one of the few bikes on the channel where I myself would consider buying this bike if I would have the money. And there were until now maybe like 2 or 3 bikes on the channel that had that effect on me. This bike has such a nice mixture of being very comfortable but also being really able to deliver for all your sporty rider needs. And you can just sit on this bike and cruise. It's basically the perfect embodiment of something like a roadster. You can sit on the bike forever. It is very comfortable. All the feel of the levers is nice and easy, but at the same time heavy enough that it gives you good feedback and also feels authentically retro. But at the same time, as soon as you twist the throttle, the bike really gets going. It accelerates so nicely across all of the rev range, as the peak torque is 1,000 repetitions lower than on the Z900, and you really feel that feels so good. It's a really nice riding experience at the same time. You basically don't really sacrifice one of the two. For street riding, I would call this the perfect machine, as it's also really approachable. You don't feel scared of the 111 horsepower, even though that's like quite a lot, and when you then get going you also feel that, but you feel that then when you have to brake, because the bike basically gets up to speed so fast, and you have the confidence to do it because the bike gives you that confidence. That's also the edge that this bike has over the competition, because other bikes like the Yamaha XSR 900 feel like they're too much. You basically can never chill on a machine like that. Well, this basically gives you all the grunt when you want it and all the chill when you want it too. This is, I feel like, the best offer in the neo-retro section when it comes to the bigger bikes. Even though this decision comes mostly down to engine preference, as basically every manufacturer offers a different engine setup. As you have here the 4-cylinder, Yamaha has the 3-cylinder, and Ducati has a V2 in their big Ducati Scrambler and Ducati Monster, while BMW still has the like Boxer engine setup. But I feel like from all these bikes, this one delivers what you want the most. I'm not the biggest fan of 2-cylinders, and it is so nice because other bikes like the Triumph basically have like a style over function approach. Well, this is all the style and all the function in one, and I'm just a fan of 4-cylinders, and with all the like attention to detail, this is my favorite in that market section. I really, really like it. There are only a few minor critique points, like the blinkers, the mirrors. In my opinion, the kickstand is not really steep enough. As soon as you're on a road that's not completely flat, you kind of are worried of the bike tipping over. Same goes for wind. And that is a bit of a complaint. And also you have the little weird point in the steering that I mentioned earlier. And the bike is a bit heavy at 218 kilos it was. If I got it that wrong, I will put that into the frame here. But that can be a good thing, as well, as the bike still feels like very planted and usable, and it's a general Kawasaki thing. I feel like their bikes feel big and heavy when it comes to their big bikes, but I actually like that and I prefer that. And also the bikes are still like really maneuverable, and this includes this Kawasaki Z900. I like that when you turn around the bike, you have a quite tight radius that you can really work well with this big machine, and I really like this big bike feel of this. And it's just a great machine all in all. Thanks again to JCB Kawasaki here in Celle, the dealership who gave me this bike for the day here in North Germany. You can test ride this machine at their store, and also thanks to them, they got the bike back on the road so quickly when I had the flat, and yeah, thanks to them for making this video possible. And feel free to subscribe. If you have a bike that you would like me to review, and if you live in Belgium, France or Spain, definitely feel free to write me an email, as I'm getting to these places soon. So yeah, and see you guys in the next video.
Quiet down just a minute, settle down and have another one, because you're tired of the game that remains until you're undone. I hit the wall.